G'day. I'm going to share with you a method how you can boost your superannuation incredibly over what you're doing now. Now, this may not apply to every country and depends on the organisation or industry you work in, I guess, but in my case, way back many years ago now, when I worked for the government, this is what I did, and I'm so glad I did. When we're younger, none of us think about superannuation. But what I did, with the government anyway, how they were, I'm not sure if they still do it, some employers did or do still offer a certain amount that they will co-contribute into your super. So what I did, I went to the maximum arbitrary figure, I can't remember now. Say it was, I don't know, say it was $50 or $75 a fortnight. So I used to get paid fortnightly in the government. There's one of Bobo's mates. So that's the maximum that they would co-contribute. So, well, make it $100. It could have been that. So every fortnight, they would pay up to $100 if I paid $100. So what I did was do that. And now you might think, well, that's $100 a fortnight that you could be having in your pocket or spending. That's true. But trust me, it will certainly pay dividends. It could be many years in the future, depending on how old you are now. Or, you know, something could happen at work. You may be medically retired. So by doing that anyway, you set it up automatically. It comes out of your pay. You don't really notice it's gone. But that compounds and builds up over the years. So what you might find, you could be quite a few dozens of thousands of dollars, 50 grand, 100 grand better off by the time you're ready to be able to claim that super. And that will make a huge difference to your lifestyle and your daily living, of course, when that time comes. So look into it with your own employer. And there are things too that can happen. Like I said, you could be medically retired. You could break a leg, have a psychological injury, whatever, at work, end up being medically retired. And depending too on your own particular circumstances, and now I'm speaking in the aspect of Australia here, this may apply overseas too, in other countries. You'll have to check that out for yourselves, obviously. Definitely look into that, because as I say, it may not matter to you now, depending on what age you are, but in the future, if you could, you'd go back and thank me, because it really does work out especially well. If you put in, have it taken out of your pay, the maximum amount that they will co-contribute to. Sorry guys, it's late in the afternoon. I'm editing this video sometime after I filmed it, and I just realised there was a part that I could mention that's probably worth mentioning. That's one way that you can also increase your balance, potentially, of your superannuation. So whilst this is not financial advice, this is just what I've done. If you want to follow it, that's up to you. There's something you can do called changing your investment shares into high risk. Now that's exactly as it sounds. It's high risk because whilst the potential growth is a lot bigger, the risk is that, you know, that could suddenly plummet, and often does. It's usually cyclic, but it often does. However, it's something I did years ago when I had some decent money, and boy, I tell you what, without going into details in this video anyway, I was earning into my super around about, I think it was $1,000 a week. And yes, I had a considerable lump sum in there. However, the reason I say to, in brief, why this definitely isn't financial advice, I don't have a bad head on my shoulders when it comes to money. So back in the global financial crisis, I saw that coming, and this is something I will never ever get over. It still angers me to this day. I rang up my superannuation fund and wanted to change everything into cash, but because typically that's a safer bet. Your returns are lower, but yeah, the risk is not as high. And for some reason I took on board what the receptionist, whoever answered the phone, said. It's like riding a wave. So I went against my gut instinct, stuck with it. Everything was in high risk at the time. Of course, along came the inevitable crash, and I ended up losing something like 160 grand, which never recovered. So yeah, definitely bear that in mind, but it is a way I thought I'd insert into this video that you can increase the funds in your superannuation. So back to the video. Okay, well, I do hope you'll consider that. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.